Good evening, everyone. Warm welcome to JoyNews Prime with me, Pius Kojo Baka. Coming up in our headlines, reports of an earth tremor in parts of Accra in the last few hours sends shivers down the spine of many, with some taken to social media to share their experience for that. Full academic work to resume in Mafe and other surrounding communities after victims who were taken shelter in their classrooms were given tents yesterday. Should the president be made to pay tax?
When it comes to the payment of tax, we are proposing that, as is always said, that leader by example, our presidents should pay tax.
We have details of these and many others coming your way all in a moment. Please stay. Always a delight to have you on. Let's now settle for the details. And the Ghana Geological Survey Department has confirmed earth tremor in parts of Accra. The magnitude of the tremor is 3.6 on the Richter scale. Now, the tremor, which lasted about 10 seconds, was felt in many parts of Accra, including Weija, McCarthy Hill, Awoshi, Pokwase, Kwashiman, Adenta, and other areas. And we've got a statement from the Geological Service to you. Let's read. And it reads, on Sunday, 12th November 2023, an earth tremor event occurred at approximately 7:20 a.m. in parts of the Greater Accra region. The event had a magnitude of 3.6 on the Richter scale. Now, the epicenter of the event is about 7 kilometers off Weija and in the Greater Accra region, with origin time at 7:17 a.m. Now, the recorded magnitude is indicative of the extent of the tremor. The earth tremor is a minor one, and so it is not expected to cause damage. The tremor was slightly felt in Nyanyano, Kakraba, Weija, Pokwase, Adenta, Kanda, and some other parts of Greater Central Accra. Now, it continues to say these are natural occurrences and therefore difficult to predict. The authorities committed to the continuous monitoring of these events and informing the public appropriately to ensure public safety and minimize risk. Now, it goes on to say education and sensitization of the public on awareness and response during earth tremors is important and currently being undertaken by the authority. It concludes by saying the public is urged to remain calm and go about their normal activities. And this is signed by the Acting Director General of the authority, Isaac Kwaman, in 1 minute there. Let's go live on the phone and speak to the head of Earthquake Monitoring and Division of the Geological Survey Authority, Nick, and he joins me live on the phone for more on that. Nick, thanks so much for joining me here on JoyNews Prime. First of all, should residents of Accra be concerned about these tremors, you would say?
Yes, they should be concerned, but not a panic to the extent that they will lose focus on the need to prepare.
How many tremors have we recorded in the past 2 years now?
For the past 2 years, I can't give the figure. Maybe it's about, in terms of all tremors, it's about 200. But the first one for the past 2 years is about was the most widely felt one, probably about 4 or 5 within the past 2 years.
And is that a reason why we are experiencing such tremors?
Yes, the reason is one. Accra in particular is within the mobile belt, and there is from the being a mobile belt means that there's movement of this part of the earth. And this movement builds up energy in the rock, and from time to time, when the rock cannot bear any more of the stress, it breaks and releases the energy. But recently, the rate of events have increased so much, which is a source of concern. Because mostly, if you have a lot of happening continuously, unlike before, then probably could signal a major event that's about to happen. And so that's why we've been calling for more education and sensitization, so that people will know what to do during an earthquake.
Ideally, we were expecting that natural occurrences of this nature should have a four warnings. How come we weren't able to get such?
Well, I think in this earthquake, that's what the report said, that it's a natural event, and earthquake is not like meteorological disasters or meteorological phenomenon like rainfall, where you see clouds in Nigeria, in other countries, and slowly moving, and you'll be able to estimate when it will hit a particular area of interest. But earthquakes, you will not see this, you will not get that signal, because you're dealing with a solid earth, and it's difficult to see what is happening deep inside. And the velocities of this wave is so fast that as soon as it happens, you can't get time to estimate time that it will be. Few seconds. Even the earthquake that occurs in Morocco, within 5 seconds, the waves are cutting to Ghana, even though it's not having that energy to see Ghana. The equipment will be able to pick it within 5 seconds. But if it were to be meteorological phenomenon, you will see the clouds far away and slowly moving, and you'll be able to estimate. But for earthquake, it's not like that. It's difficult to predict earthquake. So what we normally look at is these signs of a lot of small earthquakes happening, giving a warning or to prepare for a major one.
All right. Thank you very much. Nicholas Opoku, who is the head of Earthquake Monitoring Division at the Geological Service Department there, sharing what we need to know in relation to that tremor that happened earlier today. Now, many residents jumped onto social media to share their experiences, and we've got some Twitter comments on that for you. And pretty soon, yeah, there you go. Sheila Irene, posting some videos as of the time the tremor happened. There you go on your screen there. Promise Dumevi says, Wales just experienced the earth tremor this morning at about 7:19 a.m. this morning. He says, the way we build our houses in Ghana, dear God should keep it at earth tremor now for us, we beg. Shakes and body pair, you go left houses. All right, then that's another one real cool. The earth tremor here and there. I think something needs to be done about this. I experienced one in 2020 in Accra, and it wasn't a nice feeling. Please, if we can control it, we should act as soon as possible. May God protect us from any bad omen. Amen. Meanwhile, the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, the Geological Survey Authority, and UNESCO have been educating the public on what to do in times like this.
22nd June 1939. It was a normal evening like any other evening. At 7:20 p.m., the land around the coastal areas began to shake. The streets started cracking. Buildings began to lose their balance and fall apart. Trees and objects began to fall. People running for their lives. For about 30 seconds, the earth could not stop shaking. The greatest damage to life and property occurred in Accra, the capital of the Gold Coast. Research has it that although Ghana is far away from the major earthquake zones of the world, it is prone to earthquake disasters within the Accra district and the coastal areas to the east and to the west. Ghana has records of damaging earthquakes dating as far back as 1636. The last three major ones occurred in 1862, 1906, and 1939. So, when the earth shakes, the ground moves and things start to fall. Ask yourself, how prepared or unprepared are you for an earthquake?
So please, what should one do when there's an earthquake?
To save lives and minimize casualties, one should adhere to the following precautions whenever there is an earthquake. If you are outside, do not run. Walk in the middle of the road and pay attention to falling objects. Avoid overpasses. Power lines. Do not get out of your car or lay next to it. Stay in the car until the shaking stops. If you are indoors, drop down on your knees before the earthquake drops you. Take shelter under any steady furniture, like a bed or a table.
Away from earth tremors related story, and now the big question, should the law that exempts the president from paying taxes be changed so that he also pays taxes just like you and I? Well, the Constitutional Review Consultative Committee has been looking at this, and they believe the president must pay taxes to show leadership. Now, Newsfile was heavy on that discussion yesterday, and members of the committee were there to share some perspectives. John Nzua is one of them who was seconded from the audit service.
The way we compute it, that is why people are talking about it. We have proposed that people come to office at the beginning of the year, for instance, like the parliamentarians, their salaries are not determined from day one. So we are looking at if salaries will be determined from day one when they assume office, as soon as they are nominated as MPs, so that at the end of the day, if something small is given to them, it will not look so big that people may think that, oh, they are taking sums of money home, then that list will also go down a little. So that's what the committee is looking at. Then when it comes to the payment of tax, we are proposing that, as is always said, that leader by example, our presidents should pay tax. You look at a situation too that people end their, still on the Article 71, whether people should end their tenure and we still have to vote for them. I believe that everybody will take that mantle as the first gentleman already may have a place to live. Why should the state also waste resources to also build another house for the person?
Meanwhile, researcher and reform advocate Oliver Bakavomawo says the committee must tread cautiously and close all loopholes.
Ministers are 25. Trust me, we are going to have for each minister 15 special advisors. You have to think through how do you tie the hands of the political class. You need to know the beast you're dealing with. If not, you'll be overrun by the way in which the system operates. Unless we can think around the framework of how we tie those in, we're going to create a problem in the long run. The other thing is around the president's appointing powers and we say ministers. Okay. One of the bigger challenges we have consistently is that if Chairman, for instance, is talking about the president appointing 6,000 people, which is a problem, the president's appointing of ministers of all these people does not evolve from the Constitution alone. There are less than 1,000 people appointed by the president directly under the Constitution. The vast majority, it is Parliament which is enlarging the powers of the president through these appointing mechanisms. You have to directly limit what Parliament does in expanding executive and appointing powers of the president. If you don't do that, we are going to move it from ministers and increase appointment on another end.
And to some other stories, over 300 students of Mepe RC Primary School in the North Ton district of the Volta region can now reclaim their classrooms for full academic work. This follows the donation of 100 tents to the over 110 flood victims who have been using those classrooms as shelters due to floods induced by the spillage of the Akosombo Dam. Donating the items, the founder of New Africa Foundation, Nana Kwame Bediako, alias Jacob Caesar, a Ghanaian businessman and philanthropist, assured the flood victims of his commitment to support farmers who have lost their farms with agro inputs to help them bounce back. My colleague Carlos Caloni has more.
Enthusiasm and excitement filled the air as the founder of the New Africa Foundation, Nana Kwame Bediako, alias Jacob Caesar, and his foreign partners from Turkey arrived at the Mepe RC and Agbetikpo basic schools, which are serving as shelters for over 1,000 flood victims. Donating 3 trucks of relief items filled with 100 tents, bags of rice, soft drinks, tissue, plastic bowls, bottles of water, among others. Nana Kwame Bediako also promised to support female victims who have lost their farms to the flood with inputs to help them bounce back.
I know it's very difficult at the moment, but difficult times, it's only remembered when the joyful comes in, and I believe that there's a lot of joy ahead of us at this moment. I hope that this very time should encourage us and inspire us to build our nation again. It shouldn't just pull us down, and I know it's heavy and I understand your pain, but this tells me, and I feel like, yes, there is more we have to do as a country for each other to build ourselves up, and I'm ready to help in any form, in any means necessary that would take this memory away. On that note, I want to say that, I have an industrial revolution that is going on in regions, and I want to dedicate my time on Volta, these areas, by feeding a whole woman here and giving them a capital of urea and seedling for farming. I would like to really make sure that there's some factories that are going to come up here so we can do food processing and create employment and start to build this place up again.
Highlighting the need for the Disaster Management Committee to consider a tent city for the flood victims in order to free up the classrooms for academic work, founder of New Africa Foundation, Nana Kwame Bediako, also urged town planners and the leaders of the country to govern well.
Maybe the man have not thought of a tent city could help them move in from the classrooms and free the classrooms for the kids. So I also looked at a lot of people who have supported Ghana, and I realized some of the things that were missing. And then I also brought it to come and help. I think food is important, and we wanted to supply at least 2 containers of food for the people so they can survive in the next couple of months. But I also want to make the country, the government, the town planners aware that it's very important that, we make sure we govern our countries properly in terms of some of these national disasters, So, these people are important. They need to be saved. I don't know, but it's hundreds, as long as there's place for them to sleep. The tent has bed and it has a shower.
Even though grateful for the items, Assistant Headmaster of the Mepe RC Primary School, Amaglo Mauto, said more interventions are needed to fully restore academic work.
Once everybody moves, we have 9 solid classrooms that will be available. Here, the class 4 to class 6 is currently still in the river, and it is just drying up, and we can't do any work there now. So we'll be holding the classes under the trees. But the classrooms, these ones will be available once the victims move out.
Receiving the items on behalf of the flood victims, Member of Parliament for North Tong, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, commended Nana Kwame Bediako, stating that apart from helping decongest the camps, his agro initiative for the flood victims will aid them in bouncing back economically.
I'm really happy about this great initiative, and I want to commend Jacob Caesar. Clearly, his visit is a full package. Relief items now. He has also brought lots of tents, which will help us ease congestion. But also, he has gone beyond just relief items and reducing the congestion. He's looking at livelihoods, and I want to commend him for that agricultural initiative.
Even though floodwaters have receded in many communities, thousands still remain in shelters due to the collapse of their homes. Carlos Caloni, Joy News.
This is still JoyNews Prime. We've got more stories for you after this break. Hello, welcome back. The work of about 100 women share nut pickers in northern Ghana has been made easier by the donation of share nut picking rollers under the Savannah Integrated Biodiversity Conservation Initiative, known as the SIBCI. The project coordinator, Dr. Assam Mohammed, stated that in addition to enhancing the picking activity of the nut, share picking rollers will minimize the health burden of share nut pickers. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafik Salam reports.
Share nut is one of the agricultural products with the greatest potential for increasing foreign exchange and employment. There is a growing demand on the world market for share nuts as well as its byproducts. The share industry generates employment and income for about 1 million rural women in northern Ghana involved in picking nuts a marketing process share kernel and share butter. Based on the aforementioned and the need to protect the Mori National Park, the University for Development Studies, in partnership with Ghana Wildlife Society, Nature and Development Foundation, and Corporazione Pelos Levipo, DPC, Emergenti, Onlus, Cospi in Italy, received funding from the European Union to implement a project codenamed Savannah Integrated Biodiversity Conservation Initiative, SIPSI. The project is aimed to import the implementation of sustainable management of the Mori National Park and peripheral areas implemented under the European Union's PABIO program, which aims at sound management of large landscapes of high biodiversity value. Project coordinator for SIPSI, Dr. Asar Mohammed, to shed light on the project.
And this project came from the idea that the Mole Park, sustainable management of the Mole Park has been a challenge in Ghana. And the challenge has always been several attempts to reduce poaching and destruction of the biodiversity of the Mole Park. Then this project came from the idea that sustainable management of the Mole Park would depend on providing alternative livelihoods for people whose livelihood depends on the park, particularly the hunters, we call the poachers, and those who do other activities like illegal logging and other activities that are inimical to the park. So in 2009, the idea came and then we proposed this to the European Union, and the European Union gladly provided funding for 4 years for these activities.
100 women share pickers drawn from Mankurugu and North Gonja, Tantale and Mankurugu Maduri and Bulenge in the Wise districts were given shena picking rollers, basins and cutlass.
Rafik Salam filed that report. Now, the Chief Executive Officer of Zono Hospital in the Tichima North District of the Bono East region has called on managers of the National Health Insurance Scheme to readjust the medication tariffs of the scheme to help various service providers across the country. CEO was speaking at a brief ceremony to unveil the facility's new ambulance service in Tichiman. Anasabit has more.
Your hospital is a private health care provider and the only hospital in the entire Tichiman North District. The facility, with an ambitious agenda to improve the quality of healthcare delivered in the area, has one of its precious agenda ticked as the hospital recently purchased a new ambulance with the aim of providing easy access to health services and to coordinate the response of the system such that the right clinical resources are provided to the right patient within the right time frame for their medical needs. Dr. Zingvla Emmanuel is the Chief Executive Officer of the facility. He says the absence of an ambulance service has over the years affected general health care in the area.
I think the government has made efforts to provide ambulance services, but as we all know, that is just they are able to support, but it was not adequate to provide the services. We are in the Tichima North District. We happen to be the only hospital in the Tichima North, and we have to refer critical cases to Holy Family, to Comfort Noche, the teaching hospitals, and it was a big challenge. There were times people would call, Zuno, do you have ambulance services? We have sorted ambulance. The government ambulance is not available. So we felt that there is a need to close that gap to provide those services. So it was actually a challenge when it comes to referral.
Dr. Emmanuel was, however, quick to laud government for its proactiveness in the reimbursement of NHIA claims, but admonished the authority to work towards adjusting the various medication tariffs, a move, he said, would help the various health facilities across board.
And before we part company to some great news coming in, JoyNews' Emmanuel Kwesi-Deborah and Francisca Inchel have picked awards at the prestigious West Africa Media Excellence Conference Awards known as WAMECAM 2023. Now, Kwesi-Deborah was adjudged the best journalist for ICT and telecoms reporting, while Francisca Inchel, who also reports for Corruption Watch, picked up the best investigative reporter award. Kwesi Debra's story on unsolicited subscriptions by mobile phone users in Ghana won him the recognition. The story shed light on how some telecommunication network subscribers are or were unwittingly billed by third parties licensed by the National Communications Authority to provide value-added tax or services. Now, Kwesi Debra couldn't hide his excitement after winning the category against two Nigerian journalists, Godfrey George Alaputa of The Punch, Nigeria Limited, and Abdulwasil Olakuba of Sahara Reporters.
2021, 2022, and now 2023. And yes, for all those years, I was a finalist, and I've taken it. It was quite really painstaking job, like a painstaking, should I say, investigation I did. You know, going to individual mobile phones, trying to check what the unsolicited subscriptions of them, like one by one, it was really hard. And that's what really marks for America. You need to do real work. It's just not any work, real work.
And the winner is Francesca Enschel.
She's receiving the citation, a plaque and a check. The story is Money Over Human Lives, Rot at DVLA Exposed. It's an investigation.
A big congratulations to Emmanuel Kwesi Debra and Francisca Angel there. And that's it for the bulletin. I am Pius Kojopaka. For more stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com. Always a joy serving you. Do enjoy the rest of our programs. Bye.